Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel, the video that you were all waiting for. We are here, it's time to fight, it's time to analyze, it's time to rate. Tier list of the season 22-23 of our Bianconeri. We go not with the usual numbers 8 to 4, 7.5, 6.5. Why? Because in every culture it depends and you give another interpretation to these numbers, but we go with words from disaster, but really disaster, because that's what the season was, a real disaster, until MVP. Who has been the best Juventino according to me? 31 players plus Max Allegri, so it will be a longer video today, I'm sure about it. Let's see how long, no idea, we will see. But guys, one thing before starting to evaluate them and put them into boxes, I evaluated with my own opinion. You will agree, you will disagree, we can debate, and that's why the comment section exists. But one thing is sure, I didn't evaluate with my feelings, with my heart, the affinity, a player that I prefer, I don't like, I didn't want to enter with that. I also didn't take into consideration the off the field, the -10, the psychological things. I didn't. I really wanted to try, because that's what I will do, I will try. I really wanted to try to be objective, what we saw on the field, and to put everything into context, of course, before starting to put these players into boxes. Well, it has been a disaster season. Eliminated in Champions League, 5 losses on 6. Painful losses against twice Benfica, 1 time against Maccabi Haifa. We lost 5-1 against Napoli. We lost 4-1 against Empoli. We lost twice against Monza. There were a few beautiful moments as well in the season, but not enough. So the ratings will be quite harsh. This is a fact. So we start immediately. There are some players that are covered because of my screen, but anyway, you will see them. And to prove you that I have tried to be as honest as possible, we start with Paul Labille Pogba. Pogba that played 10 games this season, 1 assist, 0 goals. Well, you know, Pogba is one of my preferred players, but I put it immediately in the box disaster. There will also be rankings in the line, so that can be the worst of the disaster to the best of the disaster, the best of the top players until the worst of the top players. So where they will be put has an importance. Well, we start with Paul Pogba, that I put there in the disaster box. We know it. I want to put him here. I could have gone easily with no rating because he didn't play enough minutes, but Paul Pogba, we were all expecting from him that he would be the key of a returning to the glory, to the trophy Juventus. Bad decision from him in USA to not go to surgery. Paul Pogba, I believe there is nothing else that I can put as disaster. We go with the second one, Perin. Perin I have put in the box good. Good, he played 18 times in all competition, 8 clean sheets. Perin has really been a fundamental player for Juventus this season, a really good player for Juventus this season. I wanted to put him a bit and slightly higher to the top, but if you play only 18 games, probably it's not enough for me. He did also a few games that were not at the level, but really we are speaking about 2 or 3 games. All the other ones he saved so many, especially in the beginning of the season, being really ready to replace and to change Szczesny that was slightly injured. So I believe it has been a good season. But if we are speaking about our 2 goalkeepers, they did quite well, really well. So it will be no surprise when you will see where Szczesny will be. Danilo. Well, Danilo, guys, I know that it's sometimes controversial. I put him in top for a specific reason. Because Danilo this season, not only he increased that leadership, not only he took over and he has been chosen by the locker room as captain of Juventus, but Danilo has played in all the possible defensive roles. On the left, on the right, when we were playing with 4 men. He played also on the left and on the right when we were playing with 3 men. He did so much. He did, of course, a few mistakes. There were some games where he was totally not good, but really minimal. He played 54 games. He scored 3 times. In these 54 games, he played the most minutes of all Juventini. And you know, when it has been really difficult for Danilo, or when we missed Danilo, it was when he didn't play. When he didn't play, we were really missing him. I believe, sincerely, and of course, it's not the phenomenon, it's not the right back a la Cancelo, just to speak about a Portuguese player that I know that a lot of Juventini are missing. I believe he had a really solid, a really top season. I hope that we can give him also a stability, but I believe in 23-24, he is a real starter of Juventus, and I also believe that he is in a 3-man defense defense what he can give the best. Not that much, and probably would not have been rated that much if he was analyzed and rated only as a right back. We continue with Kostic. Kostic that I put actually behind Perin in the case good. I believe that Kostic is the player. That's not what I believe. It's a fact. It's a player that played the most games together with Danilo. 54 is second in terms of available minutes played. Kostic was fundamental for that Juventus. He's a player that at a certain moment we couldn't do without. It was the player on the left side that was able to put so many crosses. I saw yesterday a video about first goals with Juventus this season. A lot of players, their first goal, they have to say thank you to Kostic with all these crosses. Big drop after that last international break where he was really tired. And I believe that Max Allegri at a certain moment had to take the decision to play Ealing Jr. over him, but he was really out of energy. But Kostic, 54 games, 3 goals, did really well. What about Rugani? Rugani, I will probably surprise a lot of people, but I want to put him on the same line as Perin and Kostic, not equal because they are ranked, but Rugani did well. He played 11 games, 0 goals for him this season with Juventus, but I don't remember a big flop of Rugani this season. When he played against small teams, but also he played a few games against top teams in Italy, Rugani was present. No controversial, no bad words, nothing. He was there present, and when he played 3-man or 4-man defense, he always answered present. So Grande Rugani, the salary is still too high for a 5th or 6th solution, but Rugani did well. What about Paredes? Paredes, I think, guys, that there are no discussion about putting him in disaster. You will see where he will be at a certain moment in that disaster ranking, but Paredes, I think that there are no debate of putting him in disaster. It's a player that none of us were really hot about in signing him. We gave him a chance because he was specially requested by Allegri. Really soon Allegri understood that unfortunately he was not the player that we wanted. He didn't give what he had to give. I respect his last words leaving Juve, speaking well about the company, which is really great, speaking well about his teammates and even the supporters, but absolutely not enough. According to me, he was a player without soul, not really understood if really he wanted to play or not at certain moments. Before the World Cup, he was absolutely not there. After the World Cup, he didn't come back apparently. Just a few games, probably that game against Cremonese, 1 goal for him, and especially if you're looking at these games, 35 times we saw him in Bianconero this season, not enough. We go to Adrien Rabiot, that I put in MVP. Adrien Rabiot, except of the last 5 games of this season, did a fantastic season. 48 appearances with Juventus, 11 goals, max record for him in terms of goals. Mamma mia, a great season. At a certain moment, he was really holding Juventus, and he was the most representative player. Will there be another player next to him in that MVP box or not? You will discover it, but at the moment, Rabiot was extraordinary. Gianluca Di Marzio said that Juventus want to keep him 1 more year. I would do it if we are able to. If not, we will regret the Rabiot of 22-23. The Rabiot of the 3 first season of contract would absolutely not be there. And honestly, if you're looking at the beginning of the season where he was linked to Manchester United and a lot of people were saying put him in the stands, not playing him, well, Rabiot totally deserved to be there. He surprised all of us. We knew that he had some potential that he never showed at Juve, but doing what he did was fantastic. Ragazzi, fantastic Rabiot. Arkadiusz Milik, where did I put Arkadiusz Milik? Ragazzi, in average. 39 games for him, 9 goals. At a certain moment, especially in the beginning of the season, I would have put him in probably MVP or top. He was the striker that we were all counting on. Spezia, he enters first game with Juve, boom, goal, the goal of the 2-0. I saw his goal, I was at the stadium. He continued to score some goals. Unfortunately, would have scored 10 if that Salernitana goal and decisive goal was valid. They cancel it. At a certain moment, after that injury, he disappeared. Big decision, because it doesn't cost a lot of money to sign him for Juventus. If we want to continue with Milik, yes or no, let me know what you think, but I believe he doesn't deserve, especially with that end of season, to be higher than average. Another player, Locatelli, and you know that he is one of the players that I really like. Well, 49th appearance for him. I put him in the average behind Milik. I believe that Milik did better than Locatelli. He was the one that I said in the beginning of the season I I'm waiting. I expect that it's the season of Locatelli. It was not the season of Locatelli. Didn't score. There was one that he scored against Roma that they cancelled as well. But anyway, he didn't score. Not a great season, but there was a part of the season where Locatelli was really shining. Again, some tops, some flops, not consistent enough for a player that really was there. A real Juventino that put everything. I will never complain or blame Locatelli to put every single sweat on the field. He did everything, but it was not enough. So I said average, a bit more than not enough, but average player. Some tops, some flops. Weston McKennie, where did I put Weston McKennie? Ragazzi, I didn't put him in disaster, I put him in bad. He played 21 games with us. Why not disaster? Because a lot of time he was played out of position. Remember when we were playing that kind of 3-5-2 when he was a right wing or a wing back? Actually, that's where he played sometimes good position. 21 games, 3 goals, which average for a midfield at Juventus was not bad at all. We all remember that goal against Paris Saint-Germain. But not enough. I was happy. I didn't regret when we loaned him out to Leeds. He will come back. I hope we will not keep him. I hope we can even cash in some money. Bad player. Bad season for Weston McKennie. Absolutely not even deserving to be in the not enough. It was a bad season because we were all complaining. And he was also closing a Fagioli that deserved more. Speaking about another player, Zakaria. Zakaria, you will not see him here, but I put him in no rating for a simple reason because he played only 2 games with Juve and then he was loaned down to Chelsea. At Chelsea he did 2-3 games that were really great, the one of against Manchester City, but I can't rate Zakaria for what he did at Chelsea. So for Juve, no rating for him. Federico Chiesa, an unpopular choice by Beppe, and I know I will receive a lot of criticism for my choice. I told you I didn't take into consideration injuries. I didn't take into consideration of the field, the mental state, whatever. I have put Federico Chiesa in not enough because at the end he still played 33 times this season, not full games, but 33 times we saw him on the field, 4 goals for him. He scored that last one. I have to say the best Federico Chiesa probably was the return of him. Do you remember that Coppa Italia game against Monza? And then even if it was not his first one of the season, and then that last game against Udinese where he scored that decisive goal. But a lot of times we saw Federico Chiesa fighting against himself. It was like Federico Chiesa against the world. Federico Chiesa against Federico Chiesa, the new against the past. He wanted to prove that he was still the best player, didn't actually achieve the fact to be the old player yet. He is increasing, but for me, not enough. A lot of time, also bad decision in counter-attacks. Not enough for Federico Chiesa. I know it will be unpopular, and then we go with Dusan Vlahovic. Hey, Dusan. The biggest investment of last January, the one that we were all believing for, MVP, top, good. Where do we put him? Well, I have put him in bad. A bit better than Weston McKennie, but still bad. Not enough. If you finish as the best striker of Juventus with only 14 goals in total, it is not enough. A lot of people will complain about Max Allegri, they will blame Max Allegri on him, but we have to be honest, it was absolutely a bad season for the striker. Growing pain, it's true, influenced by that, influenced by the game, but also so many simple things that he was missing, and also that frustration moment mentally when he was not able to score for so many games in a row. A bad season, and I was expecting much better for the one that changed from the number 7 to the number 9. Moise Kean. Well, Moise Kean, another controversial choice of me. Well, I have put him actually in average. Average behind Milik, because if we saw a real great Milik in the beginning of the season that actually totally disappeared, well, Moise Kean improved. Better. 40 games for him, never a lot from the start, but still 8 goals, 1 less than Milik. I was sometimes hesitant if putting him better. I believe that we should continue with Kean next season. I consider Kean with more potential than Milik, but I'm not judging actually the two players in terms of potential, strength. I'm judging what they gave on the field. He didn't start really well. At a certain moment, he was really present in terms of body movement, into attacking the spaces, being available. But how many times did he miss goals? And this is something that Moise Kean needs to improve. So for me, average. Better than not enough. He gave something. He had a contribution to Juve, but still not enough to be good. Leonardo Bonucci. Leonardo Bonucci, ragazzi, I will put him in disaster. the disaster box. Right before Paredes, Leonardo Bonucci, 26 games, 2 goals. He disappeared as a captain. He disappeared as a player. When he was playing, a lot of time we had to move some other players like Bremer from that center defender position to the right side, sometime to the left side. We started the season with Bonucci, Bremer, but really fast we understood that they were not a match made in heaven. So Bonucci, for me, is a player that I respect. Let's see if it was his final game, his final hug to Federico Chiesa after Udinese. But for me, Bonucci had a really disastrous season. We go with Fagioli, ragazzi. The surprise. The one that when he entered after Lecce became a starter of Juventus. Well, Fagioli for me, right behind Danilo, top. I would have put Fagioli in MVP of the season if he started the season as he did after Lecce. Of course, we don't forget the mistakes against Sassuolo, against Napoli, the tears of Fagioli because he really wanted to, but these ones were really big mistakes. But who is not playing, who is not trying, is not committing mistake. If we want to launch these young players, then we have to trust them. And we have to forgive and accept that they are doing mistake. But Fagioli was the big surprise. I really put him in top because he showed fantastic goals a la Del Piero against Lecce, the goal against Inter, the big rival of Juve, the other one, the important one of the 1-0 against his ex-team Cremonese that he forgot that he was playing against and celebrated. He brought us so many beautiful moments of magic in this season. Probably the one that we wanted to start a bit earlier. He was not ready yet. He had to fight for it. He did. He never gave up and he did fantastically well. Fagioli is the one that I would love to recommend to be a bit more involved, to be a bit more present. But Fagioli was fantastic. We were expecting Di Maria to be the mentor of Sule. He became the mentor of Fagioli. He did really well. So fantastic season for Fagioli. We go to Szczesny. Szczesny that I put in the top ranking right behind Fagioli. Szczesny did a fantastic season. Szczesny had 19 clean sheets, 40 games started. The one that was really controversial, a lot of time we were speaking when Perin was doing, why not starting Perin? But Szczesny is Szczesny. A lot of saves, a lot of miracle save. A lot of time he was also super angry. I was complaining a lot of time in terms of the verbal way of Szczesny of leading his defense, to take the word, to speak, to defend Juventus. He did all these things also this season, showing that he was a real leader as a human, as a goalkeeper, as a leader of the defense, and going with fantastic saves. He conceded some goals, yes, he did, but for me, he did a top season. Why him in top and Perin in good? Because of the thing, he played 40 games at double and even more than double the games of Perin. We continue, ragazzi, with Di Maria. Di Maria, I have put him in average. Average behind Locatelli. I was just checking my files. Behind Locatelli, 40 games for him, 8 goals in all competition. If I'm not wrong, 4 in Europa League, 4 in Serie A. Di Maria started fantastically well. The first goal of the season against Sassuolo, but also there in that game he's going out. He's disappearing. He's coming back against Sassuolo, against Spezia, sorry, because I saw him live twice actually, but didn't play really well. He disappeared. We were all thinking he's focusing on the World Cup, and probably partially it was also okay and right. Okay, not okay, but it was right. That's what he was doing, focusing too much on the World Cup. We didn't see a great Di Maria. We saw also a nervous Di Maria against Monza with that red card, dropping and leaving his man, not playing the game against Milan that we lost 2-0. We didn't see him. We were there waiting for the world-class player that he is and will always be. But unfortunately, we were not able to see him. He shined at the World Cup. He came back, and at the difference of Paredes, when he came back, this was the Di Maria that we were all waiting for. Fantastic player that was leading Juventus with creativity, doing really well. That hat-trick against the team in Nantes, fantastic. The hat-trick, also him, before the World Cup, of assist in Champions League against Maccabi Haifa. He did fantastically well after the World Cup, where we said, Mamma Mia, this is a player that we have to extend. And at the moment, he was about to extend until a certain moment, a last international break, going to Argentina, and he never came back. He never came back. It was also sometimes annoying to see Di Maria, because I saw him in that Coppa Italia game against Inter in our Allianz Stadium, looks like he didn't want to. Against that Verona game on the 1st of April, he didn't want to. In some games from that moment on, from April until the end of the season, where it looked like he didn't want to. Sometimes also, with that exterior of the foot going with a kind of chip that were totally not on target. There were some decisions that you said, Mamma mia. Better not to continue with Di Maria. It's a pity. It's really a pity because he showed that he was much better than all the players in terms of quality, but he didn't show it consistently. So for me, average bad. I would go with average not enough. Average not enough. And I save him for these miracle things. Anyway, we continue with Gatti. Gatti that I want to put into good, but probably the best ones of the good. He was about to become top for one simple reason. Gatti, he didn't play that well in some games in the beginning of the season, coming at a certain moment out of nowhere as a surprise, and from that moment on, he's never leaving that starting position as Juventus. That's the fairy tale story of a Serie B Frosinone player that is coming to Juve. He's not really considered. When he has the few chances, he's not able to take them. Silence worker. He worked hard, really hard, to prove that he deserved to be a Juve player. And he did. And he convinced everyone that grinta, that Juventinità, that hopefully next season can also be contagious to other people that will be there. Because Gatti was a beautiful surprise, a really surprise. When we were all about to give up on Gatti, he showed that that number 15 was fantastic. For him, 27 games, 2 goals. We continue with Gleison Bremer. Gleison Bremer that I have put in the good ones, behind Kostic, before Rugani. Bremer that did really great. For a new player coming from Torino, he did really great. Not enough to be top. I don't forget Napoli game and the succession and the following games after Napoli where he did really bad. A player that can't play in a 4-man defense. A player that committed some mistake. And that's why he's not arriving to the top. But on the rest, ragazzi, Bremer has been really solid. Great player. Of course, I don't forget that handball against Inter. Stupid handball at a certain moment. You remember the criticism, De Ligt is back, and so on and so on. So these things are putting not to be top, but he has been really good. I can't complain. I'm happy. I believe it was probably one of the best signing of Juventus. I'm happy that it has been him and not another one to replace De Ligt. Good, really good season. I'm sure that he will do even better, becoming even more a leader of that defense next season. Rovella, the big one. The player that probably we all regret. If there is one player that we regret loaning out, it has been Rovella, 100%. Why? Because we took Paredes for much more money. Rovella, after his 3 games with Juventus, I put him in no rating. I can't rate 3 games. He did a fantastic, beautiful season with Monza. It's the one that should come back and stay this time forever at Juve and hopefully can do as well as Fagioli. Beautiful perspective for him. Barbieri, the one that a lot of people after his game against Arsenal in the friendly in December were saying he is the one that we need. He is the player. He needs to sub out Cuadrado. He needs to be the starter. Well, he played how many games with us? 4 games. 1 Paris Saint-Germain, 2 minutes. So can we really consider it as a game? We can't trade. We can't trade 4 games for Barbieri. The last game that he played with Juve was really not good enough. Again, young player that is arriving in a difficult season at Juventus, not being able to shine consistently. Barbieri is in the not rating. What about Miretti? I have the shirt of Miretti. I believe in Miretti. I love Miretti. I think that he does not have to go on loan. He needs to stay at Juventus. Miretti played this season with Juve 14 games. 1 goal scored that was disallowed, unfortunately. Unlucky at certain moments, but also a lot of time wrong decision offensively. He has the capacity to be the player that is finding the spaces between the line better than any other player. But really, from all the players, he has capacities and potential that are incredible. But unfortunately, the season of Miretti probably stopped at that penalty cost against Benfica. I have put Miretti in the bad. Better than McKennie, but still a bad season. A really bad season for Miretti. Could have done better, but I believe that in his head, mentally, at a certain moment it was really tough for him. Also said by Max Allegri. We have a few players to go. Ealing Jr., the one that I was absolutely not expecting. Ealing Jr., I put him right behind his teammate Kostic. They are playing in the same position. Kostic surprised me. Not because I didn't know the player, because I'm following him since he arrived in under 19 and then in next gen. A player that I knew was fantastic and had a really great potential, but he was not consistent. And I was thinking that he was probably not ready to play consistently with the first team in Serie A or in European competition. Mamma mia, the impact that he had when he entered before that big foul of Di Francesco against Lecce, stopping him, he had an impact that was incredible. But it was parts of game, you know, these single moments, 20 minutes here, 50 minutes here, where I didn't doubt about. Big injury, didn't come back as fast as we were all thinking. But then from the moment that he came back, probably that's one of the biggest mistake of Allegri, not playing him more. Because Ealing Jr. proved me wrong. He's a player that showed that he could play at least 45, if not 60 minutes per game. And when Kostic was really doing bad in terms of energy, should have been there. He surprised me the most, and I believe that's a player that you have to build on for next season, for 23-24. Caio Jorge, can't judge. Unfortunately, 0 game, no rating. Pinsoglio, same for him. I love the guy, I love the man. I would have loved to see him entering instead of Rugani for that minute against Udinese. He played 0 games, so no rating for him. Mattia Soulé, another boy that I really appreciate. You know how much I sponsored him, how much I enjoy. I watch also the Under-20 World Cup of Argentina because I really believe that it's a really potential, a real gioia, a real talent. I was hoping that that mentorship of Di Maria would have even pushed him further and that we have shown a bit more of him. Where did I rate him? In average lowest. Average lowest for one simple reason. Max Allegri didn't play him enough. 19 games. Some games really a few minutes. Not enough. A lot of time out of position. Soulé is a player of a 4-3-3. It's a player of a 3-4-3. It's a player that can potentially even play as a number 10, but he can't play in a 3-5-2. He also did his best, strangely, against Inter and Napoli, man-marking players like Brozovic or whatever, or who was it from Inter? I don't remember the other one. Anyway, not enough. 1 goal scored for him, and you saw the joy. Probably what I regret the most from Soulé was the fact that he was not able mentally to show that he was present, showing yourself available, showing that grinta, not being anymore the next gen player that is playing with the first team, but a real first team player, which actually Fagioli did. He was not anymore a next gen, he was a real player of the first team. So I regret here. I will have to put him in not enough. Sorry. Last minute change for Soulé, not enough for Soulé. What about Barrenechea? 5 games, I put him in not rated. 5 games are not enough to rate one, especially if you consider that Paris Saint-Germain had 2 minutes that are not even a game. Well, Barrenechea was also a certain surprise because he even won over Paredes. You will tell me, Beppe, it's not difficult to win over Paredes. Barrenechea played solid games against Torino. Another game, I don't remember which one he entered. He did not good, when he was playing as a mezzala. Is a real defensive regista. Not a brain to think, but some really one that is the defensive regista. And I believe that going on loan 1 year for him, it could really potentially grow, but not enough for me to rate him. What about Alexandro? Here the debate is not will he go in disaster, because he will go in the disaster box, but where in the disaster box? Ragazzi, I put him right in front of Bonucci, not behind Paredes, not in front of Pogba, because when Pogba was playing, you saw that he was a different player. The thing that caused Pogba being out so much of the season and being in that disaster box is the fact that he did a really wrong choice of not going in surgery, but the quality of the player. When he was playing, the few minutes when he was playing, Pogba was from another level. Alexandro played a lot of games, 37 games, 0 goals. Why not behind Bonucci and Paredes? Because at a certain moment of the season, Alexandro was doing okay. He was doing average, not MVP, not top, not good, probably average in that three-man defense where we found, you remember that Brazilian defense, that solid Brazilian defense with him, Bremer and Danilo? But then the old Alexander was back with the same mistakes. He's not fast enough anymore. Every player is running faster than him. A small push, even if I will continue to defend Alexander on that it was a foul of Sergej Milinkovic-Savic and other ones, but every single push is doing the same mistake, is going on the ground. Disaster season from him. What can I say more? What about De Sciglio, I put him in disaster, but still better than Paul Pogba. Why? Because Pogba nearly never played. De Sciglio played 25 games with us. Are there really big mistakes that we remember from De Sciglio? Not really. But are there remarkable games that he played with us? No. Why disaster? Because of his continuous injuries, and unfortunately that's not because of him, but it's bad luck, but it is what it is. He's an injury prone player. Well, he left at a certain moment. Cuadrado alone. Cuadrado obliged to play every single game on the right side of the field. So disaster season for De Sciglio, and it pains me to say, but it's the reality. What about Cuadrado? Well, Cuadrado, I have put him in not enough behind Chiesa. Why? Because Cuadrado, until the World Cup, he was a real disaster. Not good enough, big mistakes, not able to do up and down. There is one thing that is saving him, is the fact that, as I told you, he was alone and he was totally out of energy. At a certain moment he was even injured, but even injured he continued to sacrifice himself for the team. Cuadrado, 2 goals this season. Cuadrado, there were some sparkles, some shines, but not enough. Not at the level of the Pirlo assist, not at the level of the goals of last season. Cuadrado, not enough, and it's a pity. Would I want to sign him? Look, ragazzi, if we play that Conference League, we need some rotational players. I would do it for 1 more year with one condition, that he is the bench player and not the starter. And now we go to the final one, ragazzi, to Massimiliano Allegri. You know that a lot of time people blame me to defend him too much. Then when I don't defend him, some people are telling Beppe, you are not defending him, you are against him, you are anti-Allegri. I heard so many things, blaming myself for working for Juve. I'm paid by Juve, so I defend the people, the player. Look, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in disaster, look, I'm not as corporate as that. I mean, I try to be objective. Then I can be right, I can be wrong. What about Max Allegri? I promised you one thing, I will not consider the off the field topic. I will not consider the fact that he was the one, sincerely, that defended in front of microphones a lot of time Juve, that I even applauded, that he was able also to at a certain moment stick the player together and make sure that we were not sinking as a club, because there are things that are facts and proven. But ragazzi, after a season like the one that we had, Champions League, after the elimination, not playing that return game against Inter in Coppa Italia semi-final, because we didn't play. We really didn't play. After all the different lineups, after playing McKennie over Fagioli, when you know that McKennie was not the player that would have probably finished the season with us. Wrong choices, not giving an identity, some words in press conference that normally I should not judge because I'm judging only the field. But all of that, ragazzi, I'm obliged to put him in a disaster. Probably I would save him in disaster plus, nearly really, really bad, but he still is in the disaster case. I can't do something else for Max Allegri this season. We will talk about Max Allegri for 23-24 a lot, starting with the video I made this morning about Gianluca Di Marzio that said that he will remain at Juve, with the voices that are still there that are saying that he will not be there at Juve. Well, for the future we'll speak about him, but judging 22-23, trophy-less season, not a lot of goals. Yes, we were one of the best defense, but not the best defense. A lot of players injured, players that are not always happy, playing out of position. Vlahovic, that we blamed and that we put in a bad position, but not being able to find the right alchemy for the biggest striker that was said by Arrivabene, the center of the project. Well, a really tough, difficult season, and we have to say it. If Juventus is not winning, disaster season. Then yes, we arrived third, fourth, whatever in Serie A. Yeah, but is it enough? No. Ragazzi, long video. I told you 35 minutes of video. I tried to speak really fast. I could have given more details, but I didn't want to. Otherwise, we are here for a 1 hour video. Let me know where you agree with me. Let me know where you don't agree with me, because I'm sure you will not. But most importantly, give also 2 things. A rating about, did I really try to be fair? Wrong or right, but did I really try to be fair? My honesty. I want that you rate my honesty. And then why not? Because it's the end of the season, because it's the end of the year. I would love, if you're still there after 35 minutes, to rate Beppe as a content creator, Beppe as a GJustjuve rating for the season. I'm taking a bit of risk, but rate me as well. Where would you put me? MVP, top, disaster, bad? Let me know. Grazie, forza, Juve.